Welcome to the Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow, an AINC original podcast. It's not easy being blind or going through vision loss, but we'll help you navigate these waters. Press on. Push forward. You've got this.
Hello and welcome to the Topic of the Month. This is brought to you by the Audio Information Network of Colorado. I'm Kim Wardlow, the Executive Director and your host for this program. This month, we are looking at awareness and education. And I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving last week and enjoyed whatever type of meal that you have for Thanksgiving. So this week, we are looking at groups and therapies in relationship to our topic of awareness and education. And we'll be joined again by Penn for the final episode of this month. We'll be right back.
This is Topic of the Month with Kim Wardlow. If you enjoy what you hear, please visit AIN Colorado for more shows, news, and articles read by our amazing staff and volunteers. If you have a question for Kim or would like to recommend a guest for future shows, please visit aincolorado.org/podcast-guest. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Hi, Penn. Thanks for joining me again this week. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. We went skiing and we ate too much. I'm sure that's always happens, right? So good thing we went skiing. But yes, I had a lovely, lovely Thanksgiving. What about you, Kim?
We did too. We went up just outside of Fort Collins to my brother and sister-in-law's and ate. You know, I think that's just no matter where you go and what you eat, you just always eat a lot on Thanksgiving. So that's always good.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this month's discussion on awareness and education, we're looking at kind of groups and therapies that people might want to take advantage of, groups that they might want to join. So I know you belong to a Lions Club. You know, there's kind of the more social kinds of groups that people can belong to, Lions, Rotaries, those types of groups. And is that something that you find beneficial, or are there challenges of being a person with some vision loss and participating in some of those types of groups?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I think this is a really important topic because, you know, we've talked a lot about isolation and when you're blind, and if you can get yourself out to belong to, like one of the clubs that Kim mentioned, I am in the Lions Club and I belong to the Loveland Downtown Lions Club. And I've been there for a number of years. But one of the reasons that I think it's important that you join a community club is because, one, it gets you around other people, but also like I know with the Lions, and I can speak for that because that's what I've been in for quite a long time, is it also gives you great opportunity to gain new skills. So one of the things that I really have taken away from the Lions Club is leadership skills. When I joined the Lions, I joined because the nonprofit that I worked for at the time really wanted me to join the Lions Club because all of our clients were blind and visually impaired, and the Lions Club donated money to them and that kind of thing. So they really wanted me to join. And I never would have joined if work hadn't kind of mandated it.
Right.
But once I joined, I'm like, wait a minute, they're doing, their goal is similar to what my life's goal is. And that's, to help connect people who are blind and visually impaired to resources and services and enrich their lives. So I kind of really jumped right in, and they saw me as a potential leader in Lions. And so they invited me to different leadership skills trainings. And I've traveled quite a bit with Lions. I've been to New York. I've even been to Canada, Spokane. I've just all over the country. I've been to go to these leadership trainings, and most of them are either absolutely free, the Lions Club pays for them, or almost free. Like maybe all I had to do was pay the airfare. And the trainings they really overlapped into my everyday life. So it taught me public speaking, which public speaking is really important, really in any career. It taught me communication skills, which of course overlaps in everything. It's just all kinds of amazing things. But it also connected me with people from all over the country that I never would have met. And so I went as far as being district governor of Northeast Colorado, which was 30 plus clubs that I was, responsible for. And it really was just an incredible experience. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And I know like Rotary clubs, Elks clubs, there's all kinds of clubs that you can join in your community. And it also gives you a sense of purpose, because most of those clubs, if not all of them, do community service in their communities. And so it gets you out of your house, and it always helps, at least me personally, if I feel like I'm helping somebody else. And so it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that. So, there's all kinds of other clubs too, and find what works for you, because even with the Lions, I've been in 3 different clubs. I started in the one that work kind of told me I had to join. And then when I moved, I joined a club because they met just down the street from where I lived. And so that was super convenient, right? I could walk there. But then when they moved their location and I started working at a different org, it was really hard for me to get to the meetings or participate in their activities. And so I ended up in the club that I'm in now, and they meet once a month. They meet in the evening. So it's after work. It's not a huge amount of time that I have to set aside for them. And when I became president of that club, I moved the meeting so that it's closer to me, so I can, walk there. So there's benefits when you become a leader, because you get to mandate some things. But it's really just a really great group of people, and it's really good for me mentally too, because even when I sort of feel myself sliding back into that isolation, I'm like, oh, I have this meeting, or I signed up to feed the homeless at the shelter, or I promised I would do this project. And it kind of takes me out of that isolation and puts me back into a good place, which is where helping other people.
Well, and I think that kind of goes both ways, because then also the other club members are seeing a person with vision loss who's able to still contribute to their community and is able to still do all the things that they, would have been doing in their life previously.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And also they give me lots and lots of opportunities to educate other people about vision loss. I get asked a lot to go speak at other clubs and different projects that they're doing, but also because, like the orgs that I work for usually deal with vision loss, just like Audio Information Network of Colorado. Well, it allows me to expose the clubs to what I'm doing and where they should be spending the money. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Right. Well, and I think of all of those clubs, I kind of categorize them as service clubs, but there are other types of groups that people might be interested based on individual interests. And I know a big part of your life is reading. It was when you were
Yes.
little and had vision, but it
Yeah.
continues to be. And I know you're a part of an audiobook club.
Yes. And I've been part of that group for a long, long time. And I love it. We meet once a month. We used to meet in person, before COVID. But now, because of COVID, we're a virtual group, which is great because people from all over the country now are in our book club. And, it makes it for a more diverse group, but you're getting more, more feedback about the books or even what books we listen to because it's more of a diverse group. But I absolutely love it. I will use any excuse to to be introduced to a new author or, even a different genre, because I've listened to books that I don't think I would have listened to if it wasn't part of the book club. But there are lots and lots of book clubs in person now as well as virtual. And like my group is specifically for people who are blind or visually impaired. I mean, I don't think we would kick somebody out if they could see, but nobody's asked to join that wasn't blind or visually impaired. And we make sure that all of the books that we choose you can get them through the Talking Book Library or on Bard, so even those that are outside of Colorado. And then also that, because there are some people in the group that still read large print. And so we make sure, like we would never pick a book if it wasn't in a free audio version for everybody.
Right. Well, I know I belong to a book club just in my neighborhood, but we have similar guidelines just to be sure that things are available through the library. And although all of the individuals in my group are sighted, there are several of us that usually listen to the books in audio format rather than reading a print version. So that is one of the criteria, that it's always available in audio. So, I would encourage folks too, even if you're not aware of or find a specific book club that's for individuals with vision impairment, it doesn't mean you can't still participate in a group in your local area. Because
that's
true.
I
think frequently, so many people do listen to audiobooks, and I think that's fairly common now to be sure that the book is available in that format. And, if people needed large print, sometimes that's available from the library, but that could be something too, just to be sure it's available from the Talking Book Library in large print as well.
Yeah. And Braille. We used to have somebody that read, her books were in Braille, but she's not with us anymore. So that's not, but if somebody did join, we would make sure that was available. But like Kim said, it doesn't have to be a blind or visually impaired book club. It could be, one that's not, but that would be a neat thing for you to bring to the table, Or like Kim said, a lot of people are listening to audiobooks that can see. So that is accessible.
Most of the books I read, I'm actually listening to. So, yeah. And I think people can look at what it is they enjoy, because I think you can still find ways to participate in other groups and other hobbies, especially if you've gotten some training on how to do whatever it is. I mean, I'm a knitter, so I think of that. If I lost vision, I'd still want to find a way that I could enjoy knitting. And I have a couple groups I belong to, and I think they would be very supportive of, if there was something that some type of accommodation I need. But I think, a lot of hobbies and groups that we might participate in, it's just a matter of maybe adapting and learning how to do whatever that is with less or no vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there's like even outdoor sports. There's the Paradox Sports, which is based out of Colorado. They have, different things that they do. And a lot of that is geared around rock climbing. And everybody who is part of that group has some sort of disability. But there are groups, I know several blind people that are in different climbing groups that they're the only person with a visual impairment. So, I think if there is, like Kim said, if there's something that you really enjoy doing, there is going to be a group out there probably doing it. And, most of them should be welcoming to, make accommodations so that you can participate.
Well, and if there is a group, like you said, there's climbing groups and other, sporting groups that specifically are for individuals that have various disabilities, that might be a great way to meet some new people and learn how they deal with things. Well, now that you've lost some vision, how do you climb, or how do you do whatever the sport is? So it could be just a great way to connect with some new people as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I know with Paradox Sports, some of their instructors are blind and visually impaired. So that's really cool too, because they live the life, right? So when they do their instruction, it's geared towards audio cues versus visual cues, and that makes it a lot easier from the get-go.
So we've talked about some different groups. And one of the things we wanted to talk about in this episode were also therapy. So things that might be beneficial, like yoga or meditation or diet and exercise, which kind of crosses over. You may have a group that you're exercising with. But
absolutely,
some of those types of things can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, and I think I'm a big believer that if you can get your body to do something, like get outside, or even if it's not outside, like even if there's a lot of really awesome free yoga instructions on different platforms. So even if you are just doing it in your living room or your bedroom, I think it can be very helpful to get the blood flowing and stretching. It just makes everything feel better. I wish I was I know meditation is super helpful for the body and mind, but I think I'm too antsy to meditate for very long periods. I can do it, and I've done it, and I've really enjoyed it, but the people that are really practiced at it or do it every day, I'm so envious that they can do that. But
you might need a fidget spinner, a fidget thing while you're meditating to help.
I should actually try that. I have one. And yeah, maybe that would help. Because my mind starts, which is not supposed to, it just starts heading off into some other direction instead of actually meditating. But it does. Also meditation.
I've always been told that that's okay. Just once you're aware of it, just to bring your mind back to what you were meditating on. So,
okay.
You don't have to beat yourself up over that.
I'll start thinking of something else, and then I'm like, I'm not supposed to be thinking about something else. I'm supposed to be and then that starts a whole dialogue in my head. But
right.
Absolutely. But I do like guided meditation. So whether it's in person or even if it's a guided meditation on, one of the many platforms, that I'm better at because there's another human. Yeah. There's another human voice guiding me. But if I have to do it on my own, it's a disaster. And then of course, diet and exercise. I mean, if you put, crummy, unhealthy food in you, that's what you're going to get in return, right? It's like if you put prime, fuel in a vehicle, it's going to run better than if you put, dirty fuel in it. And so I think the bodies that responds that same way. So if you're eating healthy and making good choices around your diet, I just feel overall everything works better.
If you're learning new things too, I think that's going to help. If you're well nourished and you're moving and all of those things, then as you're going through the process, if you're trying to learn new ways of doing things after losing some vision, that's going to be helpful too.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're eating, if you're giving your body what it needs, the nutrients, you're going to feel like doing all those other things, right? Like joining a club or exercising, meditating, or whatever it is. Like, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand.
There are groups, and we've mentioned some of them, like your book club. The members all have vision loss, but there are some groups like and independent living centers and organizations that are specific for individuals with vision loss. And I know folks that are really active in some of those organizations, and I know people who are very successful living their lives with vision loss that don't belong to any of them. But
Right.
But do you think that can be helpful to connect with one or at least look into that?
I do, especially in the beginning. If you've just been diagnosed or, or you've been in an accident and you've lost your vision, I think it is really helpful to join one of those big organizations in the beginning because, we've talked about isolation. It helps get you out of that. It will also connect you with other programs. So, like if you do call one of your independent living centers, they can get you connected to a therapist. They can get you connected to a low vision support group. They can get you connected to Audio Information Network of Colorado or Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Like they can get you, they really open the doors for all of those other things. And then as you gain your skills and then as you get training and you're getting more comfortable in your new life, you may decide, I've done this and I enjoyed it, but I want to move on or try something different. I think that that's always really healthy when you've kind of reached that stage that, maybe something new. And also it really connects you with your new community in a way that is hard to do without joining one of those bigger groups.
Right. Well, and I think on the flip side, not putting so much pressure on oneself that you need to join lots of groups and,
Right.
be super active. Like you don't want to be isolated, but you don't want to be stressing yourself out either because you're over committed with groups too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You definitely need downtime, to really kind of sit down and be with yourself and feel what's going on and be able to register that. You don't want to be so busy that you're kind of just running away from what's really going on, because I don't necessarily think that's healthy either. Also, a lot of organizations, they have meetings, like once a month or once a week, that, and a lot of those now, thanks to COVID, are virtual. So, you can drop in when you need to, or if there's a topic that you're interested in, like there's like even big orgs like Lighthouse for the Blind, or, that has a lot of really amazing trainings that you can do, and they're free, as well as Hadley School for the Blind is free. And, you could even take a gardening class with them, and it's all virtual. So yeah, like, just take baby steps, whatever, you don't want to overwhelm yourself right at the beginning, but that just sometimes all it takes is just opening one of those doors, and then that will lead to something else. That'll lead to something else. And and that's the way we have to do it. We just have to keep going, take that next step, whatever it is.
And it might be even learning something new. I know we just saw a news story about one of our listeners that you and I both known for forever.
Yeah.
And she decided she wanted, and she's lost vision many years ago, but she decided she wanted to learn ballet. And so,
yeah,
as an adult person, not like a child when many people start with ballet, but decided she wanted to learn that and found somebody who was willing to help her learn that and adapt the teaching. So even though she couldn't maybe see the person's feet, to follow that, the person is showing her with her hands, like what the steps are. So if there's something you've always wanted to learn, just because you've lost vision doesn't mean you can't still learn to do that thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And with that story, it was so inspiring because the woman who became her ballet teacher, they became good friends, like she felt like she learned as much, if not more, from her student than she did teach her. It's just like, I think that was really neat how she shared that she learned a lot because she had to rethink how to teach without visual cues.
Right.
So she actually became a better teacher overall because it kind of forced her into new ways of teaching.
Yeah, it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And I ski with different people, and some of them have been certified to be a guide on the mountain, but some of them,
right,
they're they're really good skiers, but they've never skied with a blind person. And all of them tell me that, like, oh my gosh, after skiing with you, it really changed how they skied because they either didn't rely so much on their vision, but they relied on the feeling of the skis underneath them. But also like just how they look at a mountain versus just looking at it visually, to actually feel it under their feet was very different. So that's always nice to hear when you've impacted somebody else's life like that.
I think this is all such great information. And I feel like just looking at groups, it's not so different as if you're looking for a group before you lost vision, you have your interests, maybe now you're looking for a group to help you learn some new skills after vision loss, but trying to find a group that fits well with you and you feel comfortable with those folks, that there's just lots of similarities. Is there anything else, Penn, that you can think of that's been really beneficial for you or that you would advise someone if they're, looking at groups or investigating different therapies?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is just don't give up. If you try something and you're like, you know what, this doesn't fit me, that's fine. Move on to something else until you find something that feels good. But don't discredit doing something a little bit out of your comfort zone. So if you're like, this group's not for me, really sit down and think about why it's not for you. Is it because it makes you uncomfortable and they're asking you to do stuff that you're uncomfortable doing blind and you don't think there's going to be accommodations? But, really think about the why of why you would like to stop it. And make sure that it's sort of legitimate and not just, this is pushing me out of my comfort zone. I don't want to be pushed out of my comfort zone. Because I think that's where we really learn and grow, is when we're in that sort of magical space of, where it's just a little bit uncomfortable and unknown. At least it is for me. Every time I get myself to do something that's hard, or, I didn't think that it would be the right fit for me, it usually ends up being one of my favorite things. So, but also, communicate, like Lions Club. The biggest thing for me with Lions is transportation. It's, if they ask me to go speak somewhere, I'm like, great, how am I going to get there? You guys need to provide some transportation,
Right.
And then the other thing I always make sure it's like, yes, I will come to speak to you, but this is what I'm going to speak about. I don't want it just to be this open-ended conversation. Like, this is my goal with this. And, or like I've been asked to go help at pancake breakfasts and stuff to raise money for cancer research. And that's not a time that I don't like grilling. I've never liked grilling. I think even if I could see, I wouldn't like grilling. And so I was up front. I was like, I'll come help, but I don't want to be behind the grill. Like I can, put the plates together. I can serve. I can do all these other things, but this particular thing, don't put me behind a grill, So, but other people might be like, I'll do anything. I'll do anything as long as I get to be behind the grill, so
right.
Just, be communicative. And there's also a lot of, support groups, either they're peer-to-peer or maybe they're led by a therapist, but there's lots of groups out there like that as well, which I think is very helpful. Especially sometimes they're like having an actual therapist, if your insurance doesn't cover it, can be very expensive. Where if you join, a support group, I belong to one it deals with low vision and blindness, but there are other groups out there. It doesn't have to be a blindness and low vision group, but that might be where you might want to start because, again, you're talking to your people, right? And you'll be getting some, you're talking to people who might be going through very similar to what you're going through or have been through, and that you can share with them. So whatever it is, just try really hard not to go hide under the covers, even though that sometimes seems really easy.
What you want to do.
Yeah. And I think that that's okay to do occasionally. I think we all need that. But I think when you connect with your community and you connect with a group or another organization and you become part of something outside yourself, life just is going to get better because people start caring about you and you start caring about them. And I think that's really important.
And you can find value in what others have to contribute, but also see what you have to contribute as well and to build that community.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely a two-way street. Because it gets exhausting when it's not that way. I think if you feel like you're giving all the time, that might not be the healthiest place for you to be. So yeah, make sure you're receiving, and that can look different depending on what club you're in. Like when I go and I work at, it's called the community kitchen once a month, and we feed the unhoused. I walk away, if you think about your life as a cup, my cup is overflowing when I walk away from there because I really feel like I made a difference in somebody's day. And even if it's just one hot meal, they're so grateful. And, so that's something that, again, I think it's a two-way street. I showed up and I gave my time and my energy, but in return, I got to meet these incredible people and had these amazing conversations and, got to be around that. So,
well, Penn, thank you for joining me for this episode, but for the entire month. I think this has been some great information, but it's always fun to get together and talk with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for asking me. This topic is so dear to my heart because, it affects my life every single day. And it's wonderful to be part of your program, Kim. Thanks for what you're doing with this because I think it really is having a huge impact on the world.
Well, thanks. And it's so helpful, I know, for folks to hear from somebody else with the life experience, what they're dealing with as well. This is our last week for November, but coming up in December, we are going to be looking at adjusting to vision and hearing loss. So exploring not only losing vision, but we know that many of our listeners also have some hearing loss as well. And we'll be talking to Ellie Carlson next month and looking at vision loss, hearing loss, and then that combination and adjusting to that. So we hope that you'll join us in December as well. Just a reminder, you still have some time for Colorado Gives Day. You can go onto the Colorado Gives site and make donations anytime from now through Colorado Gives Day on December 6th. And I know we and all the other organizations that participate truly appreciate those donations that we receive. And any donations from November 1st, I believe, through Colorado Gives Day count towards being able to get a part of the boosted amount that's available to organizations that participate. So we all appreciate that. We also appreciate, so not only do we have Topic of the Month, and we have other original programs that are produced by the Audio Information Network, the one that Penn does, After Sight, with the interviews with amazing individuals who have lost vision and all the things that they are doing and how they've adjusted to living life after vision loss. And that's always one of our most popular programs. So we have that. We have Blind Sight that looks at mental health issues. But we also have programming that's recorded. So we still provide recordings of publications like newspapers, magazines, ads, so individuals can have access to those as well as our original podcast. So those are all read by volunteer readers. So we appreciate all of our volunteers who are reading for us again, and they're just starting to come back into the studios this week after being out since COVID started. So we're excited for that as well. So please tune into any of our podcasts and our audio editions of publications. You can also give us feedback through our website at aincolorado.org. Email us at ainc@aincolorado.org with any comments or suggestions that you have for our programming or for guests for any of our original programs that we do as well. Thank you for joining us, and Kim and Penn, wishing you the best for this last week of November, and as we start heading into the end of year holiday season. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kim.